Assalamu alaikum. I'm Answer Tamara Gray, and this is the Tides of Change, Dependency, and Independence SOS Family Workshop, the third in a series of workshops we've been holding this year in an attempt to work together to help each other get the tips and the expert knowledge and the Islamic foundational pieces to help us hold our families together, uplift them, and help us all live in such a way that we can be of the su'ada ad-darain, those who are happy in both worlds, this world and the next. Today, the schedule today, the lineup today is an absolute blessing for all of us. I am so excited about today. I'm so excited. First, at 10:15. Well, and our timings are great. So inshallah, they'll be great today. Sometimes we end up going over a bit because of a question and answer. But subhanAllah, even when we do, it's always worth it because those questions, once one person asks a question, you know that so many people need to hear the answer to that question. Anyway, our first up, we have Dr. Rania. Dr. Rania Awad from the Bay Area is an amazing woman. I've known her since she was 16, I believe, is when I first met her. And she has her doctorate from Stanford in psychiatry, and she's working with the Khalil Center, and you'll hear much more about her and all the rest of our speakers. But she's going to talk to us about anchoring the spiritual upbringing of newborns and toddlers. Think about that. You have a little baby, and so many moms are wondering, how can I start? How can I start right? How can I start right? She's going to give us some tips about that. And Marah is going to talk to us about teens. Between teens and adulthood is really a difficult time. And it's something that we need to think about, and it's something that we need help with. We need help with. There's all sorts of things that can happen during that time. And as parents, we never stop being parents. I have my youngest, my baby, is going to be 30 this year. And sometimes she's the one that I'm most worried about, the one I'm praying for the most. And just because my daughter, my son, in case they see this, I'm also praying for you and my granddaughter and my son-in-law. But subhanAllah, just because they're turning 30 doesn't mean that we as parents have stopped worrying about them. And so here in this talk with Ansa Marah, she's going to talk about what it means to have adult children and also that stage between teenagehood and adulthood. Dr. Zakiya is going to talk to us about managing elderly care and support. And ya Allah, subhanAllah, this too is so important. This year, I moved in next door to my mom, and my mom is active and she doesn't need care. And subhanAllah, to be honest with you, she usually does the caring for me still. But that is a very important life stage for us as Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ once said, I wonder at the person whose parents get old and they don't enter heaven through serving them. So this is something we as Muslims have to think about and take very seriously. And it's something that is really unique to our ummah, that we haven't dropped this yet. And I hope we don't. Sister Sakina is going to talk about the real serious issue of being a single parent. And I know that for those who are joining us today that are single parents, you sometimes feel alone in our community. And I hope that the lecture today, the lesson today will help you find resources and find ways to feel less alone. And for those of you who are married but feel like a single parent, I think you also will benefit from Sister Sakina's lecture. And I'm really looking forward myself to hearing about it so that I can have tips to give the myriads of people who ask me what to do as single parents. And Sarah is going to talk to us about what it means to lose children and parents. And I'll share with you that I lost my very first pregnancy was a stillbirth. And then I also lost 2 pregnancies. And subhanAllah, from miscarriage to the loss of children to the loss of parents, this is a life stage we all go through. And it's important to have Islamic foundations and understanding so that we can get through that and come to the other side in a healthy way. And Seredana, my good friend Seredana, mashallah, when you're talking about someone and then you say something, I say to myself, oh my goodness, I have to go back and say something beautiful about all the speakers because they're all they're all exemplars to our ummah. Subhanallah. So Aunt Redana is going to talk to us about dousing the fire of burnout. And subhanallah, she is uniquely qualified to talk about that. She shared with us in our last SOS workshop that she is the mother of a 21-year-old daughter with Angelman syndrome. And one of the symptoms of that syndrome is that the child just doesn't sleep more than 3 to 4 hours a day or night. And so Aunt Redana is uniquely qualified to talk to us about tips and paradigms and ways to think and how to root ourselves in Islam and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in order to continue forward and not get burned out through serving our family. Alhamdulillah. So today is going to be a great day, and I'm so excited about it. And I want to remind us that we always find examples of these relationships in the seerah, in the lives of the companions, in the lives of the Prophet ﷺ. And it's in looking at those relationships that we find ways to live. So when we see how the Prophet ﷺ survived the death of Khadija, how he survived the death of his children, so many of his children. When we see his care for Fatima bint Asad, the wife of Abu Talib who cared for him, she was like a third mother to him. I say third because other than Amina and other than Halima, his care for her as she grew older and even as she died. As we see his interactions with his daughters as they went into adulthood, and with Ali as he went into adulthood as well, and how he helped them to navigate that. Now, certainly the concept of teenage years is a new sort of industrial age concept, but nonetheless, we learn from the Prophet ﷺ, from the seerah of the Prophet, about that interaction. And also we learn when we're thinking about newborns and toddlers. There's so much to learn there. And I know that our speakers will be touching on all of these things. And I look forward to listening and being part of it all day today, inshallah. Also, you will find a bonus recording in the forum where I will touch on some of the different companions and their relationships that cover all the topic areas that we're talking about today. So Zubair ibn Awwam, I'll talk about him a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about Sulaym and her single motherhood with her son, Anas ibn Malik. I'll talk a little bit about Fatima bint Asad as the Prophet, how the Prophet cared for her, and a few other stories. So you'll find a collection of stories that reflect the topics of today in the forum, inshallah. And other than that, we'll have a wonderful day today. And thank you for joining us. And those of you who are going to be joining us later in the recording, enjoy the recordings. And for those of you who are joining us live today, get your questions ready, and you will be able to come back to the recordings as many times as you want during the year. I also suggest that you check out our previously recorded workshops, because they also have amazing topics that can help you build happy, healthy Muslim families for the 21st global century. Assalamu alaikum.